warm welcome to the 18th episode of the webinar series brought to you by SteelMint Events. I'm Shreya Divakran, the Assistant Program Manager of SteelMint Events team and your host for today. Today's panel discussion will be co-hosted with my colleague, Mr. Nirmalaya Dev, the editor for Steel 360 magazine. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone here for joining us today for this session. As you're all aware, the Steel Users Federation of India, in collaboration with the Bombay Stock Exchange, is all set to mark a new beginning in steel trading in India. A memorandum of understanding was inked last year between BSE and SUFI to launch steel billet futures contracts, which looks set to be game changers in India's context. The unmistakable trend towards greater consolidation in the Indian steel industry calls for a steel futures exchanges. At least theoretically, commodities traded on open exchange are acknowledged to follow the most transparent prices. In addition, at least in the case of steel products, futures contracts for one product could be used as a reference quotation price for other products. Steel futures could also be a forecast tool, simplifying decision-making on capital investments. Some knowledge about future revenue streams acquired prior to committing investment means that producers should be able to better plan capacity. SteelMint Events today is pleased to host a set of distinguished panelists from across the steel trading and manufacturing verticals to enlighten us on the prospect of steel futures trading in India. Our esteemed speakers for today's panel discussion are Mr. Nikunj Turakia, founder and managing director of Standard Group and president of SUFI, the Steel Users Federation of India, Mr. Arunesh Bharti, general manager of JSPL, Mr. Pinakin Dave, deputy general manager for product and business development of BSE Limited. Unfortunately, Mr. Deshi Kachar, RINL's chief general manager for marketing and services, won't be able to join us today. As he is not keeping well, he sends us his regards. Also, a little housekeeping before we get started. After the panel discussion, we'll also be running a live Q&A. So we have enabled our Q&A feature. We will try to take on as many questions as we can depending on the time limit. So feel free to just pop your questions up there and do make sure that you share your name and company name as well, because it's easier to call out the questions. Also, if you miss anything, please don't worry. We will share the on-demand recording over in our SteelMint Events YouTube channel. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our first speaker today. We are joined by Mr. Nikunj Turakia, the founder and managing director of Standard Group India. Being the founder of the group, Mr. Turakia has turned a single trading company into a group of companies dealing in multiple products across various business sectors, namely steel, real estate, lighting, solar, steel servicing, and aluminium. Standard Group is headquartered in Mumbai, India, and operates from multiple locations across the nation. Mr. Turakia is also the president of Steel Users Federation of India and Honorable General Secretary of Chambers of Association of Maharashtra Industry and Trade. I'd like to welcome Mr. Turakia and thank him for joining us today. Mr. Turakia, we would like to open the floor to you so that you can share a brief on the status of BSE Steel Billet Futures and the role of SUFI in it. Mr. Turakia, over to you.
Thank you, Shreya, and let me thank your whole team, the SteelMint team, to host such an important webinar today. Because in India's context, as you rightly said, it is going to change. It is going to bring a paradigm shift as to how steel is going to be traded in India. Let me welcome all the participants who have joined in today, and also thank all the panelists, co-panelists who are there along with me here. We all have seen in last 2 to 3 years in steel, there have been a lot of disruptions. May it be introduction of GST or demonetization or NBFC crisis and now COVID. However, we have also seen simultaneously a lot of consolidation happening in the steel industry, particularly in manufacturing sector. And so steel mills consolidation has happened, and going forward, we see that the Indian market has matured considerably. We stand today as the second largest producer of steel in the world, And I think, broadly speaking, the Indian government through Steel Ministry has laid down the path for the steel industry in the Steel Policy 2017, which is a very, very comprehensive policy. So if the market has matured and it is still, we have a fantastic growth path which has been laid down for the target of 300 million tons production by 2030 and 160 kgs per head consumption. We thought that it is very pertinent, it is about time that we give a tool whereby, we can hedge the risk which is imminent in any commodity and which was not available broadly in Indian steel market, which is there in China. And we could see that, apart from a hedging tool, it also is giving you a reference point as to where the market is leading, what is happening, so on and so forth. Now, and whenever, if there is steel futures, when we talk of futures and options, we need to look into that. It does, it does address the challenges with the price volatility which is there in steel, and which we could see, even now we could see that in April when the lockdown happened, hot rolled coil was being sold at $360, $370, and today it is $530. So the price volatility needs, it cannot be curbed. There are so many external factors involved with it. But however, we can cover that risk, because price volatility is not good for anybody. There needs to be price stability for all the stakeholders of any commodity, and we are talking about steel here. So may it be the producer, may it be the distributor, or may it be an extruder. So this tool, which was there sparingly, or which is there sparingly, but it needed a much broader base in India, and that is why who else other than Bombay Stock Exchange, an institution which we are all proud of. And when we are talking about such a complex natured futures, steel futures, we we need this kind of platform, we need this kind of backing. And I think I should compliment the whole Bombay Stock Exchange team for this, because they have gone completely all out to support the steel fraternity to bring this kind of very broad based and transparent platform. Now, whenever you are introducing such a platform such as steel futures, you need complete transparency, uh, you need a seamless process, and you need a very reputed, backing to this. This is all Bombay Stock Exchange was providing, and I again thank their MD Shri Ashish Chauhan, Shri Samir Patil, Pinakin Daveji, Anil Ji, Mr. Ranjit. They have been very proactive, and very soon we shall be launching this kind of the steel futures in India. Presently, we have restricted ourselves to billet, but we will and one stock point, and Pinakinji would give complete view of how the contract looks like and how we are going to do the steel futures trading. So I would not go into that, but broadly, we we envisage that we will go into other products also apart from billet, because billet would mainly control the long segment, and we need another product for flat segment. As you all know, roughly, in India, it is maybe 55-45 is the ratio. So we need to address both these segments, which are vital for various industries, various actually industries in India. I must mention here that without standardization or without steel quality control order coming into play, this could not have been possible. A lot of people have issues that why steel futures were not being traded so much earlier, and why it is possible now. The simple answer is that the steel quality control order has given a benchmark. So you can, there is a reference point to a particular product. And when there is a reference point, you can relate to that product, and then you can, you can do something like this. Otherwise, earlier it was not possible at all. However, whenever such a change happens, we are all skeptical. There is an old maxim which says that change is good, you go first. So, there is always people would say that you try it out, I will try it out later. But here, I think there is no place for skepticism. We are very well equipped and we are ready to launch the steel billet futures in India in a very big way, in a very transparent way, whereby it will bring a paradigm shift to how steel is being traded in India. It will offer a fantastic opportunity to hedge the risk to a consumer, to a distributor, to a mill, whether they are buying, stocking, or selling the product. It will also give a reference point to them, so that where where the market is moving. A simple comparison is the Shanghai steel futures today. I don't know anybody in steel who will not get up in the morning and see what is the Shanghai steel futures today, because that gives them an indication that where the market is moving. So we want to bring to that level UFI billet and whatever other products we launch on BSE platform. And I'm sure that we are on a very firm footing, and I see tremendous growth for Indian steel industry going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mukund. Next up, we have Mr. Arunesh Bharti, General Manager of JSPL. He's extremely passionate about steel and started his career with Tata Group and is currently working with Jindal Steel and Power as the General Manager Office of Managing Director. He has worked in blast furnace projects, shop floor operations, marketing and sales, business intelligence, strategy and strategic affairs. Mr. Arunesh is a member of the World Steel Association WSA Economic Committee and a distinguished member of Indian Steel Association ISA Working Committee. Thank you, Mr. Bharti, for joining us today. Mr. Bharti, we would like to hear from you on how the steel scenario is amidst COVID and what do you think about the scope of steel futures in India? Over to you, Mr. Bharti.
Thanks a lot, Shreya, for the nice introduction, and thanks Nikun ji for outlining the steel futures in India, its prospects for the secondary as well as primary and the usual row. I just wanted to apart from that, I just wanted to highlight few of the key changes what the steel fraternity as a whole, India and global, has seen in last 10-15 years. The world's largest importer of the steel has become largest global supplier of steel in less than a decade. And that's the reason during the 2015, there was a severe meltdown. We were forced to sell HRC at around $215 FOB prices. And a lot of our ex-colleagues who used to work with the companies, big companies, is vanished from the market. The rapid shift in demand centers, industrial development in emerging economic particularly, has filled the consumption in the new regions like Asia, Middle East, and North Africa. And India is, of course, is one of the force of with reckon with. We are the largest, second largest steel consumer, and the global industry is looking at India as far as steel and raw material is concerned. Steel is a global supply chain, as all of us know that we at Jindal Steel and Power, we source material from South Africa, Australia, and so the other producers are. So basically, steel is a complex global supply chain with an unprecedented turmoil in the industry, and to iron out the risk in the logistics as well as the global happenings is always put the steel industry in the risk. We at Indian steel industry in India, where we have given 300 million ton by 2031, is having a serious challenge, and this challenge will going to amplify further once we'll be reaching towards 300 million ton. Serious challenges in the coal, iron ore prices, logistics can hamper supply chain. Significant economic slowdown, like the COVID things. Nobody knows that whether from where the COVID is came, and within no time it has spoiled the whole market actually. So that means the steel price volatility, availability, and hence there should be some mechanism wherein the market participants can minimize the risk. Lower risk, it will be providing the business stability, low cost of capital for the capital intensive industry. Like Government of India, they have envisioned India's growth as an infrastructure led growth, right? And they are investing heavily in the infrastructure. And the Indian condition of working, from the day we bid for a particular project to the final delivery of the project to the government, it may take around 2 years or even 5 years. And working in the commodity market, steel as an input to those projects, it is really indifferent that we should have a mechanism so that the day we are bidding for the project, and the kind of balance sheet what we calculated for the ROI and the margin for the project, there should be a kind of stability mechanism. So yes, this is what the steel future is going to provide. Well, I just wanted to highlight the steel future, the way we are talking today. The futures in India is not very new. Commodity future in India have a long industry history. In fact, future trading will started around 1875 in the form of cottons and all, right? And Government of India after 2003 was really seriously looking for the steel futures and other commodity trading, and implementation of GST and unification of the tax regime in India has made this possible further. Because earlier we used to deal with the excise and the local taxes like VAT and all those things. Now there is a unification of the tax structure, and it gives a opportunity for the traders or the market participant to procure material from one state to other state, right? So the seamless movement of the material is happening. But there are some certain concerns. Future exchanges bring a huge advantage, but we need a liquidity. Liquidity means the high transparency, high standardization, as Nikunj has highlighted. The quality control order and the standardization in the quality and all those things is very important. The robustness is very important. Counterparty risk should be eliminated, and the contract should be honored. So that's the kind of the risk associated with this, right? And absence of assuredness of the physical delivery can hamper the smooth working of the whole market. So yes, there are opportunity, but we have to be careful. We have to devise certain ways and means so that the whatever trading is happening in the future, and that should be backed by the physical physical delivery. So that's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bharti. Just one thing, Mr. Bharti. Mr. Bharti, how do you foresee the effects of steel futures index on domestic steel trade?
Well, we may see increased interest from the international player to start with. Apart from the domestic players, as I tell you, currently in India we are having production of around 110 million ton steel in a year, and consumption of around 100 million tons, right? And so to speak, around 40% of the material is purchased material. The purchased material, what I mean to say is, certain person is procuring billet for re-rolling, certain person is procuring HRC for the downstream industry, so to speak. So 30% of the Indian steel is being traded, and it's not converted in the in-house to the final product, right? So it gives a huge opportunity for us to go for the steel futures trading, right? And as I told you earlier, that kind of volume what we are having as of now, say for the whole steel trade value chain, if I am considering from iron ore to the final product delivery to the customer, it is around 10 lakhs crores of annual industry. And even though if we'll be considering around 20% of it, or 20, so 2 lakh crores will be a huge kind of chunk for trading and the financial investor to come upon, right? So the market participant can come and then hedge the risk. So that will be good for the industry. That will be good for the producers like JSPL or anybody else, and also for the user industry. Ultimately, the user should be should be able to safeguard his margin and his EBITDA or level what they have foresee during the beginning of the projects.
Thank you, Mr. Bharti. Moving forward, I'd like to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Pinakin Dave, the Deputy General Manager, Products and Business Development at BSE. He has over 15 years of experience in the financial domain in various capacities. He has good experience in the areas of exchange operations, product management, risk management, and business development. Having experience in dealing with various exchange members, corporates, and institutions for various asset classes like commodities and currency derivatives. Prior to BSE, he was associated with Multi Commodities Exchange of India Limited (MCX) for more than a decade, where he has played a vital role in development of various commodities turnover. And with this introduction, I'm passing on the floor to Mr. Pinakin to start his presentation. Mr. Pinakin, over to you.
Thank you, Shreya. A warm welcome to all the participants from various parts of the country. And I welcome all my fellow panelists, Mr. Nikunj Turakia, who has been the backbone for us as far as steel launching is concerned, Mr. Arunesh Bharti, Mr. Nirmala Dev, and all the team of Steel Mint. I would first like to congratulate all of you for arranging this webinar in such tough times as well, to and connecting so many people at Go. This itself speaks for your hard work and for the efforts that you'll have, the initiative that you'll have taken for. Coming to the briefing of what BSE has been thinking as far as steel is concerned and how it shaped up. I still remember it was a year and a half ago when me, Mr. Nikunj Turakia, Nikunj Bhai, and a common friend of ours had a meeting at BSE, and there the entire idea was conceptualized, was given a birth of. After that, we had various rounds of meetings to discuss, to deliberate of how the futures could be, how the platform could be, and what the contract specification could be. But there has been nuances, there has been notions that any commodity that is traded on the exchange platform leads to speculation, leads to increase in prices, leads to various other things. Just to give you a small example, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, the way Mr. Nikunj said before some time in his speech, that if I'm a steel trader, I will definitely see the prices that are traded on the Shanghai exchange when I get up in the morning. Similarly, if I am a layman, 10 years ago, I was not aware what the prices of gold are, or for that matter, any commodity are. We used to rely especially on the jewelers or the bullion traders, and whatever rate they give was considered to be the final rate. So we never had a choice or a chance to see or compare the rates. With the evolution of futures market, with the evolution of derivatives markets, now today you get the prices on your fingertips, you get the prices on your app, you get the prices on the TV. For a layman, if he wants to buy gold, silver, or any commodity, all he has to do is just on his TV watch a CNBC, or log in his app and watch the price of that commodity, and then ensure whether he wants to buy, sell, or whatever he wants to do, take a call on that basis. Similarly, when we talk about steel, We had various round of deliberations, brainstorming sessions, the entire jury, the members of Sufi, and how to evolve it, what are the various functionalities that one has to look upon. And these markets are looked upon as markets to trade, but I would say these are the markets to mitigate your risk. I'll cover the entire stuff in my presentation, but the most important function of a futures market is price discovery and mitigating your risk or hedging your risk. It is not meant for speculation. If you really want to speculate, there are various other markets wherein you can go and speculate yourself. But here the main functionality of an exchange is to lead to price discovery, to make a platform which is transparent, which has robust mechanism for settling the trades, for clearing the trades, and the most important factor, as Mr. Arunesh mentioned, the third party risk or the counterparty risk. So for you, if you're a trader, you're open to the entire India. You don't need to know rather who's the counterparty, be it a buyer or a seller. And all you have to do is just see the price, just ensure the quality of the contract specifications are adhered to, and you can trade or you can hedge your positions on the exchange. Come hedge your positions, make the most of it, ensure that you want to give deliveries. If you are here to give deliveries and take deliveries, you can do that. If you are, there are various other functions of the exchange which I will dwell upon in the presentation, and which are the benefits. Today Mr. Arunesh had mentioned that we are a capital intensive industry. So in such an industry, this thing can be like a reform. As Mr. Nikun said, this is going to be a reformal move. I'll brief you how it can be a reformed activity. Today, if I'm a trader and if I'm willing to, mitigate or reduce my working capital, I can come use the futures market, pledge my material on the exchange platform, and pledge my ENWR, the electronic negotiable warehouse receipt, with a bank, and in turn avail finance for. So there are various functionalities, benefits of an exchange, of a futures market, which definitely we will go through in the presentation and after the presentation as well. So now when we talk about steel billet futures, there are various qualities of steel which when we deliberated were there and in our sessions, but we thought of going ahead with billets, and then we intend to move on and complete the entire basket of the steel product that are connected with the main commodity, that is steel. But when we come across what BSE brings in to the table, when we come, we are the Asia's oldest exchange with our presence of more than 146 years. The reach, as far as BSE's reach is concerned, we have more than 1,400 member brokers reach, with an reach of more than 5.2 crores registered investors or unique client code which are registered on our platform. This is the most important thing, because this itself gives you an overall idea of what the reach can be. Technology for any market to develop, we are in the regime of technology. Technology is the backbone or most important part of an exchange. So whereas we are concerned, we have world's fastest exchange with a speed of 6 microseconds. Now what I mean by 6 microseconds, when, say for example, today you are a trader and you want to come and trade on the exchange platform, you enter a trade, be it a buy side or a sell side, the confirmation that you get from the system is less than 6 microseconds. So just imagine, it is lesser time than blinking your eye or something of that sort. The clearing and settlement part, as Mr. Arunesh had mentioned, the most important functionality of an exchange is here. When we come, we have uh, Indian Clearing Corporation Limited, our clearing house, which is a AAA rated clearing corporation, and we have secured capital efficient counterparty risk management system, and we ensure that the best of the best practices are there followed to ensure that the risk is managed in the best way, and you don't have to worry about the counterparty risk. So the moment you trade here, you are assured of the trade getting settled, be it with deliveries, and in case if you don't want to settle it with deliveries, it is up to you. You can move out with price difference as well. Risk and surveillance, again, this is the most important functionality. We have the very robust way to manage the risk and to ensure that all the best practices are there in place for equity, currency, commodity segment. And we are the first exchange in India and second in the world to obtain ISO 9001 2000 certification. This itself is a huge achievement as far as uh, managing the risk and surveillance measures are concerned. This is to give you an overview brief of what BSE is all about, and we are India's first universal exchange. We had launched our commodities segment on 1st October 2018. So we are the only exchange which gives you. We were the first exchange to give you a trading platform for equity, currency, commodity, debt, mutual fund, insurance, be it any asset class. You have BSE to serve you to trade in the best and efficient way. Anil, next. What is this brief all about? So, MOU signing with Sufi, the intent or the idea at BSE is, as I started my speech with, that when I said it was, I guess, 1.5 years ago when we had a meeting with Mr. Nikunj Bhai, and the intent was to evolve and to develop the market. So we had entered an official MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with Steel Users Federation of India, and after that we had several rounds of meetings. Again, the intent is to first understand what the market needs, and then make a product, design a product with the suggestions of the market stakeholders, and make a product which is acceptable to all and which is meant for all. As I had mentioned, this is the brief of what the product working group meeting is all about. So this meeting had stakeholders from all the aspects, and all the top players of the steel fraternity were there in the meeting for the brainstorming sessions. And before finalizing the contract as well, we had several discussions with the stakeholders as well to draft a skeleton or draft a contract, and then the took place, and then we had applied to the regulator. So before designing the contract, the hard work that was put in was for more than 5 to 6 months. We had severe deliberations and rounds of discussions, and based on that feedback, we had drafted a contract, designed a contract, and then we went ahead to the regulators to apply for the contract. And I'm really thankful to the regulators for approving the contract, for allowing us the contract to be launched. And we have it is sheer delight for me to share that we have got the approvals to launch steel billets contract, and we intend to launch it very soon. So this is a brief of how the rules are, what the contract is look like. The symbol which is going to be there on the screen of BSE when one starts trading is going to be Sufi BLT. It is named after Sufi. Contract listing day, again, contracts which will be available as per the contract launch calendar. So this is a futures market. So there will be a fixed contract which will be launched on the 20th day, and it will on the first day of the month, and it will expire on the last working day of the month. But in case if the last working day of the month is a holiday, then the preceding working day will be the expiry day. So there will be a fixed expiry of the contract. It will expire on that fixed day. Say for example, today you want to trade September contract, October contract, you can trade. So the prices will be today derived for the expiry of September or October, whichever contract is there available. Trading period Monday to Friday, so one can trade from Monday to Friday. Trading session will be from morning 9 a.m. to 11:30 or 11:55 p.m. Trading unit 10 metric tons. So जो contract होगा would be of 10 metric tons, and quotation और base value जो contract का quote होगा वो आपको रुपीस जो दिखेगा वो पर मेट्रिक टन में दिखेगा. So for example, I consider that of 25,000 or 30,000 rupees. So 30,000 rupees per metric ton will be the rate which will be seen on the screen. Price quote would be X Raipur. So the contract which will be traded, the price quote will be X Raipur, exclusive of GST and other levies, but inclusive of basic customs duty and other related duties in case of imports. Maximum order size. What is this maximum order size? When a trader wants to trade, he can either trade with 10 metric ton, or in a shot he can trade maximum up to 500 metric tons. So in case if I am wanting to trade say 1000 metric tons, अगर मुझे 1000 metric ton trade करना है तो मुझे 500 metric ton के multiples में मेरे orders डालने होंगे screen पे. Tick size or the minimum price movement. Say when I give you an example of say prices say around 25,000 or 30,000, the next move would be 25,010 or 30,010. So it will be in the multiple of 10 rupees. Now, what is a daily price limit? What is this limit meant for? Say जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं, यहाँ पर movement रहता है आपके कोई भी commodity में एक उसका integral part है. Any commodity has its integral part of price movement. We call it volatility or daily price limit. But the regulators has curbed this daily price limit, and they have kept it in two slabs. So the first slab will be of 4%, and then this slab will be enhanced by 2%. So for example, today, in case there is extreme movement in the physical market, you will see the same replica of the movement in futures market as well, but it will be divided into phases. So the first movement in the futures market that it can witness will be up to 4%. It can be on either side, 4% upper side or 4% lower side. Once it hits 4%, it will be revised in a slab of 2%. Thereafter, there will be a cooling period of 15 minutes, and after that, the slabs will be relaxed. For in my earlier slide, I had mentioned that our clearing corporation ensures the clearing the counterparty risk or the other risk surveillance mechanism or risk management mechanisms that are followed. So this is an integral part of that. Initial margin is the margin that a trader has to pay while taking his position. It could be any position. I repeat, initial margin is the margin that a trader has to pay while taking a position. It could be a buying position or it be a selling position. Any position that a trader is willing to trade or take on the futures exchange will be with an payment of initial margin to the member broker, and member broker in turn will pay to the exchange. Now this is all done in the live market. Say for example, if the initial margin is fixed at 4% of the contract is say 3 lakh rupees, considering the price of steel at 30,000 rupees, I will be levied a 4% of initial margin. So 3 lakh rupees ka 4% will be my initial margin. I hope I'm clear, and I hope I'm not going too fast. Yeah. Over and above the initial margin, we have extreme loss margin, that is ELM. So 4% is the initial margin. Over and above that, we have ELM, that is 1%. So these two are calculated on the contract value, and based on that, the member is charged the margins before once he enters the trade. Any additional or special margin. Now, what are these margins? Additional or special margins are nothing but the any margin which has to be imposed because of the price movement is additional or special margin. Now these are levied only in special cases when the movement is extremely high in the futures market. Again, this is one of the measures of managing the risk or the surveillance measures. So it is levied on both the sides, on the buying side or on the selling side. What is maximum allowable position? For an individual client, the maximum allowable position is 1,20,000 metric tons for all the steel billets contract combined. or 5% of the market wide open position, whichever is higher, and for a member, it is collectively 6 lakhs metric ton or 20% of the market position wide open, whichever is higher. Why is this in place? And what do I mean by maximum allowable position? Today, Nikunji, Aruneshji, can I use your names just to give an example for trading? Is it your?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Absolutely
Aruneshji,
fine.
is it fine?
Yeah, Pinaki. Yeah, please. Hello.
All right. So for example, today, Mr. Nikunj had entered and he intends to say trade 50,000 metric tons of steel, and Mr. Arunesh intends to sell 50,000 metric tons of steel. Both have come to the screen. Both have entered. So Mr. Nikunj had bought 50,000 metric tons of steel, and Mr. Arunesh had sold 50,000 metric tons of steel. So this becomes an open interest for the exchange. This is the most important and critical part of any contract, the open interest. So the health of the contract is first seen by seeing the open interest of the contract. So the more the open interest, the more stickiness it brings to the contract. It means that more and more people are coming here and are trading, are using this platform to trade. It could be on any side. In this example, Nikunji was a buyer and Aruneshji was a seller. But unless and until they move out of the positions, in my example, I had given you that Mr. Nikunji had bought and Aruneshji had sold. Same way, unless and until Mr. Nikunji reverses his position or Mr. Aruneshji reverses his position, their trade is considered to be open trade. In such scenario, it adds to the open interest. But for exchange, it will be one only. So Nikunji had bought say 50,000 and Aruneshji had sold 50,000. So exchange will not consider it 1 lakh. Exchange will consider it as 50,000 only. I hope I'm clear.
Yes.
Delivery unit. Now when we talk about deliveries, are deliveries possible? मैं deliver कर सकता हूँ? Yes, you can very well use this platform to deliver your goods, your steel, which is manufactured in your premises. But the condition is it has to adhere to the quality specifications that are specified. So these futures contracts are very standardized in nature. They are not generic, or they cannot be modified, or they cannot be customized. So this is the standard format which everyone whosoever is trading will ensure that in case he or she is wanting to give or take deliveries, will get this quality of steel at the expiry. Now, quantity variation. Delivery unit is 10 metric ton. Quantity variation is plus or minus 5 metric ton. So 10 metric ton आप दे सकते हो, but उसमें weight भी plus or minus 5% allow किया जाता है. Delivery period margin is again 3% plus 5-day 99% value at risk of spot price volatility. Oh my god, ये तो बहुत सारा margin हो गया. So let me make it very simple for you. As I mentioned earlier, there is a fixed expiry to the futures contract. Say 30th is the expiry. So 5 prior to the expiry, the contract will expire. The contract will enter into tender period, delivery period. Now this will attract a special margin which is known as delivery period margin. So 5% on daily basis, an additional margin will be left on your position, irrespective of whichever side you are. And so for example, today while entering the contract, you had paid 7% or 8%, and your contract enters into delivery. There will be a special delivery period margin of 5%, which will be levied on the first day of the tender period, delivery period. On the second day, that 5% will move up to 10%. On the third day, it will move up by another 5%, so it makes it to 15%. On the fourth day, it will move up by another 5%. It will make it to 20%. So this is how the risk is eliminated. The counterparty risk is eliminated. So before the expiry, exchange will already have 30% roughly of your amount with you as margins. So there's no point of any default or any issues as far as risk concerned. Delivery center, Raipur, up to the radius of 50 kilometers from the municipal limit. So ये contract है delivery कहाँ पर देनी है? रायपुर में will have a designated warehouse जहां पर आपको warehouse में ही आकर material deposit करना है. Ensure that you deposit the material in our warehouse, designated warehouse, and this warehouse will be in Raipur within the radius of 50 kilometers of the municipal limits. Quality specification, the most important part of the contract. It must conform to BIS 2830/2012 standards for carbon steel grade A with designation of C15 or C18 or C20, and 2831/2012 standards for steel grade A with the designation of C8 or C15 or C22 for re-rolling into general structural purpose. The billets must be free of harmful elements. Each piece has to be marked with a heat number individually and has to be accompanied with a mill test certificate. So when you get the deliveries, you as a buyer, you will see the marking of the heat number which will be there on each and every piece with the test the commodity as well. The size that one has to deliver will be 100 by 100 mm. You have the flexibility to also deliver 120, 130 or 150 mm. The length will be 6 meter plus or minus 150 mm. Now, one important element of the futures is that it settles. बहुत लोग बोलते हैं कि futures में speculation बहुत move on their own way. बहुत बार price में correlation नहीं होता है. You don't see exact correlation between the prices between the markets. But any markets in the world, any derivative markets in the world will come and settle on the physical market only. And that is why we say that any derivatives market is nothing but a replica of the prices are nothing but the replica of the price that are in the spot markets. So our contracts also are futures contracts, but they eventually come and settle on the prices that are prevailing in the spot market. Now, what are the spot market prices? Prices of Raipur Mandi will be polled daily basis, twice a day. So randomly एक third party agency हमने appoint की है. We have appointed a third party agency which is the neutral agency, and they do the polling twice a day to see what the prices are in the physical markets, what prices are prevailing in the physical markets, and based on that spot prices are derived. Now the same spot prices are polled from the first day of the contract launch till the last day. During the expiry, say 30th is the expiry, 30th, 29th and 28th. Average of these 3 days spot price will be considered, and the contract will be settled based on the average price of these 3 days spot price polling. Now, where can I see the spot price? The spot price can be seen on the website of BSE, and it is reflected twice a day. It changes twice a day. The first spot price comes in at around 12:30 in the afternoon, and the second spot price comes in at around 5 p.m. in the evening. Delivery logic, compulsory delivery. So if I am willing to take deliveries, I have to take deliveries. I will get the deliveries. If I am a seller and I'm holding my position during the expiry, I have to give deliveries. Staggered period. What is this now? Staggered period. Last 5 working days. I mean, these are the new things that we are discussing. But why? These things are meant to ensure that trading happens seamlessly and smoothly and in a very standardized way. Staggered period is nothing but the period of delivery, tender period, delivery period, which is 5 days prior to the expiry. In this period, the beauty is, in case if anyone is willing to give or take deliveries, he can give his willingness, he can show his willingness of buying or selling deliveries after 5 p.m. It will be displayed or shown on the screen that there is a buying intention for said number of lots, and accordingly it can be settled. So deliveries can be possible 5 days prior to expiry. Yes, you can give and take deliveries prior to the expiry also, but only this period is restricted to the expiry. And on the day of expiry, whatever positions will be open will be marked for deliveries. So this was just a brief of how the contract specification looks like, and what are the salient features of the contract specification which is going to be traded at BSE. Uh, we are here to clear all your doubts. So any queries, any doubts you have, we can take it in the Q&A session. This was just a brief of what the contract specification has been designed, how it would be, depending on your need, depending on your uh, situation or a requirement. We can customize the hedging strategies also for the individual client, and the intent is to ensure that the maximum benefit is taken of these markets, and you are here only and only to hedge or to mitigate your risk and increase your working capital. So this is a small brief from me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mr. Pinakin, that was a very nice and very informative presentation. But before we proceed, just a small question to you. Which is the agency this BIC is fixed for, BIC is fixed for collecting prices from Raipur market?
So we have our tie-up with Cogensis, who in turn does the polling for us on all the other commodities as well. So we have appointed Cogensis for taking the spot price.
So we'll start the panel discussion to start with a couple of questions to each panelist. To start with, Mr. Turakia, after the nationwide lockdown, steel demand and prices were rising, but there is still volatility in the market. Will the BSE SUFI synergy in launching billets futures contracts offer a stable mechanism for price risk management for traders?
See, that is precisely the objective, to bring stability into the market or to hedge against price volatility. Price volatility comes for a variety of external factors which we or nobody can control. Nobody can control prices of iron ore, or there is a natural calamity, or there is some situation like COVID or other situations or some policy issue. So any price volatility for any player is not good. It is. I mean, their planning, programming is disrupted big time. In order to address this challenge, this is exactly what we are trying to do, is to so that they can mitigate their risk, and there is it doesn't bring stability, it'll mitigate the risk.
To Mr. Bharti. Mr. Bharti, with the steel futures exchange on the anvil, are trading volumes likely to receive a boost in the short term?
Yeah, see, if you see the commodity market, after around 8 years, the iron ore prices is traded above the coking coal prices. We are seeing $124 USD CFR China as far as iron ore is concerned, and around $110 or $107 for prime low volatile coal. So that amplifies the risk of the kind of the commodity market. The developments like COVID and other economic crisis has already rendered the need for such exchange. And we have seen in the past, in case of India, we may be slow in adopting the new practices. Maybe it's a business or household, right? But once there is a trend in the market, more and more people will come and adopt the change. Why I'm saying so? Because I think steel exchange, future exchange is still not rampant. Kind of volume what we are having as compared to West, like in US or in. I don't want to give the example of China, because China is a very mature market, and so the other European as well as Western market is. But as far as volume is concerned, India is formidably, have a great potential. So my point is that once we'll be adopting these kind of new practices, so we'll be doing it very fast. Today, 135 million ton of steel capacity, and as I said, 110 of production. So it gives a lot of potential. Current, I would say the formal contribution of GDP as far as steel is concerned is around 2%. But if we'll be taking in account the activities, other activities like logistic, mines, local vendors, some chai wala in front of the offices, travel, hospitality together, it will be around 5%. And once we'll be having around 300 million ton. So again, this will be remain as same as 5%, but the enormity of the absolute contribution as far as in the economy is concerned will be amplified. So currently, steel traded on an overall basis more than 10 lakh crores and will be likely to go around 25 lakh crore by 2030 if we'll be having around 250 million ton of consumption. So we have to understand the chemistry of Indian market. Like unlike in the West and the northern area, like in Europe and USA, when most of the steel is being delivered through service centers. In India, we are more happy to talk to the producers directly most of the time, or else we'll be talking to the traders. Well, I want this kind of steel and at this point, right? But in West and in the European market, they are essentially taking the steel delivery from the service center. So far, any government tenders are, as I told you, the tenders are having a very high lead time. So that gives immense reason that we should have a certain kind of future, right? Well, I also like to highlight, I think we are all see a good trading volume in the medium term if the such initiative will be successful. If not in the short term, needless to state that in the longer term, that once the adoption will be high, higher or such kind of things, so the business practices will be rampant, and India will see steel producers, actual users, financial investors, and particularly participating with the confidence, and hence there will be considerable volume in the steel likely to travel over the exchange. I hope I am able to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you, Shreji. Mr. Traki, I have a question for you, sir, actually, because there is a kind of perception in the market that the steel futures contracts won't garner enough participation. Is that to do with the lack of participation at ICEX, which was launched in 2018, sir?
No, earlier it was launched at MCX also. I think 2006 or 2007, and it did not fly. Now, as I told in my opening remarks, that say introduction, and Mr. Bharti also mentioned, introduction of GST. That is a game changer, whereby it makes very easy for such a contract to be implemented. Number one. Number two, standardization of the product. So you are saying product A, somebody else may say product B. So steel quality and quality control order. So there it has come, and that is standardized. Most importantly, it is the credibility of the exchange, number one. Number two, transparency and a seamless process. Now, all the three factors combined together will only make this a big success. I cannot comment on any other exchange why it has not happened, but I am very, very confident that this will be a game changer for Indian steel market, and very soon the world will see Sufi billet as the reference point in the world. So today you are seeing Shanghai futures as the reference point. You will see Sufi billet as the reference point. Please mark my words on this. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be optimistic that, yes. Very nice of you, sir. Mr. Pinakin, if I just could, put forward a question to you, sir. Actually, I was reading a few days back about the MCX exchange and concerns about infusion of liquidity in MCX. So what the regulator is thinking is the regulator is thinking of making it mandatory for non-ferrous metals also, for people hedging their risks on Indian exchanges more than international exchanges, because mostly what traders are doing is that they're hedging their risks on the international exchanges, and which is why the Indian exchanges are not getting enough infusion of liquidity or trade participation. So what do you think is the way out of this? Like how to ensure more participation in Indian exchanges?
So I would like to answer you in two parts. So see, one is the most important element is how to bring in more participation on the domestic exchanges. So basically, with the commodities markets per se has been in the electronic trading since 2000. Electronic trading in commodities derivatives markets has started since 2003, and commodities markets per se in India has been very very evolving over the years, and this is a very very dynamic industry as far as the markets are concerned. Every day you come, you have something new to add to your kitty and to learn about the market. We have here we are really thankful to the regulators for approving the contract. So it is not about that one contract is approved at one exchange and it is traded only at the one exchange. We are the new entrant as far as commodity exchange or the commodity exchange space is concerned. We have just entered in 2018. Uh, in the short span from 2000 October 1st 2018 till today, we are able to launch more than 12 commodities, and we have been able to design and evolve certain new ways of trading as well. On 1st of June 2020, BSE became the first exchange in India to launch options on goods contract. Now, unlike the other options contract which are traded right now in India, where the options contract devolves into a futures contract before the expiry, here the beauty of options on goods contract is that it remains as an options contract till the expiry, and at the end of the expiry, it results into delivery. And since the launch itself, we were able to make deliveries happen in all the contracts that have expired on the exchange platform. So we are the first exchange to launch the contract. We are the only exchange to make deliveries possible in all the three expiries as well. The average turnover of those contracts which are traded now, gold mini, a very small contract with the size of say 5 lakh rupees a contract value, we've been able to do roughly a volume of around 4,000 crores a day. So this is the potential of Indian markets. And as I said, see, this is an evolving market. Market dynamics keeps on changing daily. So daily you have to evolve, daily you have to come design a new commodity, a new way to trade, a new way to hedge. We all talk about hedging, but we have moved on much more ahead than hedging. Now we discuss the ways of hedging and minimize the cost of hedging. We are discussing the ways of hedging and procuring finance on your warehouse receipt. So these things will add more value to your ecosystem. So for example, today, say Shreya comes in and she trades, say 50 tons of steel. Now she wants to avail more finance on that 50 tons. She can come, she can deposit the steel on the in the designated warehouse of the exchanges, pledge that material either with the exchange or with the banks, take that working capital and ensure that her works is smoothly done. Once her fund needs are through, she can again come, release her pledge, give the deliveries and move out. So this is how you maximize, you make your money work harder as the way you are working harder for your own business. That is one. Second, as far as the other commodities are concerned, the markets are so huge, so large. We are the second biggest market in the world as far as steel is concerned, if I'm not mistaken. We have the esteemed people who can throw more light on the numbers, but we consider Chinese markets which are the seen markets, or the who's considered the best markets to trade. These markets have started a decade ago, and today the entire world is taking those prices as the reference prices. We have the London Metal Exchange, who have been trading for more than 50 years, and they have been taken as the reference prices or the benchmark prices. So as far as Indian markets are concerned, we have more space to evolve, and more value addition needs to be done here, and we have space for more contracts which can be launched in the exchange space for everyone. And the intent should be very clear: to come here, hedge, and mitigate your risk.
Right, so thanks.
Next up is the question for Mr. Bharti. Mr. Bharti, is there any possibility of price speculation on a futures index?
Yeah, that's a very important question. That's a kind of concern that the steel industry has been, whether the presence of financial investors in the future market will increase the price volatility, right? And that's kind of, always people will think about and will be concerned, right? But I think that in the rational environment, analysts suggest that, while investors may have a play a role in providing the liquidity into the market, but there is no considerable risk whatsoever, a risk of speculative investments, right? While financial speculators will invest in the commodity market to make a profit from the price movement, and there are forces to assume that the risk of other participants in order to generate that profit is minimal. So that is also opportunity for companies like JSPL or JSW, Tata Steel, to take the advantage of this kind of movement. But to answer your question, in the nutshell, I don't think that there is a risk of speculation in the future index.
Thank you, Mr. Bharti. Nirmala ji, you can proceed further with the panel discussion.
Yes, Mr. Thodak. Sir, actually, India is still the price taker instead of the price setter. So now, with the launch of new dimensions in trading, with futures trading also, do you think this can be this problem can be addressed to an extent?
Yeah, I believe that Indian market needs to be in sync with the world market. You cannot be operating in isolation. A lot of times you have seen that Indian market is very down, world market is quite high, and vice versa. Now, with steel futures, definitely there will be a lot of stability which will come into the market, because then the world is looking at what is happening in India, and there is a reference point which is available. And that is how India will be in sync with the world market. And I think it is very important for all the players, whether it is manufacturer or the foreign companies which are operating in India, or larger projects which are being implemented in India. There has to be a price reference. So this will steel futures will give that kind of stability.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Mr. Bharti. So after this total lockdown phase, and with the government, kind of stimulus to build infrastructure and also construction in real estate, do you believe that a futures contract on long steel products would have been much more better in the present context?
Yeah, certainly, I believe that's so. Government has given a lot of impetus to the infrastructure, and also the package, which is around 10% of the total GDP. So there's kind of package, overall stimulus package. And then they have also forward some of the spendings. They are reviewing the expenditure. How they are, how the different government agencies are spending, and whether or not they are meeting the target. So I believe, in this juncture, once the market is normalizing, if you have seen this post-COVID, the Q1, wherein we see that, the production has gone down by 45% as far as India is concerned. But of late, from July, August, and of course in the September, things will be, absolutely normal, because the kind of the migrant labor which has gone to the home, they are coming back, and things are becoming normal. So I think this is the right time that the long billet futures should be should be considered, and billet is having one more the kind of volume like India around the 30 million ton long product, so to speak, billet is being traded, and that's the biggest market. If I'll be considering the pie among the 100 million ton of consumption is concerned. So whether it is going for rebar production or wire rod production or structural production or different kind of strips and all those things. So this that's one of the biggest volume that can be that's kind of low hanging fruit as far as steel future is concerned.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Pinakin? Yes, actually, SEBI in a recent note has said that Indian exchanges, much like the Chinese exchanges, should focus on one or two commodities instead of multiple commodities at a time, in order to further product innovation and also infuse liquidity into the exchanges. So, what is your take on this?
See, that's what I had told you in my in the last question itself, that we are the last entrant. Despite of that, we were allowed to launch certain products which are already launched on the existing platform. And I take the example of steel itself. So steel was available on the other exchanges as well, but we are allowed to launch that contract as well. Same goes with other commodities. So it is not that SEBI has allowed only one exchange, or they are it is said that they should focus only on one or two commodities, and then focus on those commodities. The intent for any commodity launch should be very clear. As far as we are concerned, the approach, the intent is very clear and absolute. We are here to build the ecosystem, to add value to the existing commodities ecosystem space, and to add more value to the market, so that the market can be more matured and more bigger, and it has space and pie for all the stakeholders. Say a trader, a miller, an agent, a distributor, a producer, everyone has its own role and has its own share of pie in the markets.
Let me add here, Mr. Dev. Steel market, can be bifurcated into longs and flat, as I had already said. So that means there would be minimum two products, one for long and one for flat, which would decide the steel futures, whereby that would be a benchmark product. So for long, let us suppose it is billet, and for flat hot roll coils. So that would be minimum. It will later on we can see if we want to add some more products depending on the circumstances and situation and how big the market is.
So, yes, Shreyaji?
Okay, so we'll move on to take on some questions from the audience, since we only have about 10 minutes to close the session. So first up is for a question for Mr. Pinakin Dave from Mr. Swapnil Patil. Mr. Dave, he wants to know, do you plan to introduce commodity futures for coking coal and iron ore, completing the loop from RM to finished product in steel? This will help mitigate the risk for producers as well as down to the line of steel consumers. Could you share some thoughts on that?
So, see, we don't rule out any possibility for launching. We would definitely do our research. Based on the research, we deliberate, we discuss with the product working group members, and based on the feedback that we receive, the feasibility study that we do, we approach the regulators, and once they approve, we go ahead to launch the commodity. So if there is enough movement, if the market is bigger, if it is the need for the stakeholders, we will definitely not rule out launching any of the product. But yes, it depends on the markets, how bigger the markets are, and how much value will it add to the existing ecosystem, and how much beneficial it will be to the stakeholders. So it all depends on those parameters and factors.
Okay. Mr. Turakia, do you think warehouse infrastructure in India is still not fully developed, which is a hindrance as far as futures trading is concerned?
Yeah, I think warehousing. Yes, it is not fully developed, but a lot of private players are showing a lot of interest and they are developing a lot of infrastructure for warehousing. As of now, I don't see any issue, but going forward, more and more warehousing space and infrastructure would be required to be developed. And I think that the government is also aware of this problem. And they have also laid down the policy for infrastructure development. So going forward, I don't see any problem. I think this would be at an opportune time.
To add, Mishriya, just a moment, just to add to what Nikunji is saying, or rather addressing, uh, we have WDRA, that is Warehouse Development Regulatory Authority, which ensures or governs the entire warehousing activity in the Indian markets at this point in time. And when a futures contract is launched on an exchange, the warehouse that is impaneled for the deliveries has to be registered under WDRA, has to take the approval of WDRA, and based on that approval only, the warehouse service provider is registered with the exchange for carrying out the delivery activities. So there are various other reforms as well which are going on that area as well, and more reforms are to be seen in coming days. But warehouse receipt funding, as I was mentioning earlier also, uh, the warehouse receipt is nothing but the receipt which says that you have your goods which are deposited in the warehouse, which adheres to the exchange quality, and you can avail finance on that warehouse receipt. So there are tie-ups with various banks. So these are much more steps which were the need of the hour and have seen the day of the light, and have seen the light of the day. So I would foresee more reforms to come in coming days as well.
Okay. So we have next question from Mr. Mahesh Kedia. It's a general question. If any of you could just answer that. Is quality been backed by some third-party inspection agency? Because certain part of the country has high sulfur and high phosphorus content. How is exchange going to support the standards which is normed by BIS?
Uh,
If
yeah,
Mr. Turakia,
Well,
would you like?
yeah, I'll take this question.
sure.
As we discussed, there will be a standardization, and as far as BIS is concerned, they have given each element, they have given a permissible limit, right? So whether the material is having high sulfur as far as raw material is concerned or high phosphorus, so that is the trouble of the steel maker, so they will be taking care of the sulfur or phosphorus or any other element whatsoever. So once the material will be produced, say for billet, in this example, so that will be conforming to the quality of the BIS or as per the standardized condition of the delivery of the exchange, as per the rules of the exchange, I would say. So I would say, even though we are sourcing billet from, say, for Kerala or West Bengal or to Raipur, from wherever. So since it is a conforming to the standard, I don't think there's a kind of trouble whatsoever as far as future is concerned.
Absolutely.
Absolutely correct.
Thank you, Mr. Bharti. So it looks like we have covered most of the discussion points for today's session, and the audience's question was covered from our end as well. So, gentlemen, is there anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap up for today?
I think what you said just now, that Indian market is maturing and will further mature. And let me add here that the steel policy 2017 has laid down the guideline, and based on that only these futures are being launched. So we had a lot of when the earlier steel minister Chaudhary Birendra Singh was there, and we had a lot of deliberations at that point in time also with him. So the idea is that a small user who is doing 10 metric tons or 20 metric tons has equal opportunity and to a larger user. This is very, very important. And primary producer or a secondary producer, when there is standardization, and as Mr. Bharati said, BIS, you're saying billet as per IS 2830, matter is over, finished. That is the bottom line. So, so there is no scope for any ambiguity. Number one, equal opportunity for all, and that will bring the growth into the Indian market. That is what we see today. The Indian market, the way it is operating, the way the value chain is operating, is not very efficient. So there are a lot of changes which are going to happen in these few years to come by. And Steel Futures is one of them, where most importantly, equal opportunity for all.
Mr. Pinakin, Mr. Bharti, would you like to add something?
Yeah,
Well, it's always good to attend such kind of, and I am really add certain kind of knowledge as far as Mr. Pinaki's presentation is concerned, and I'm looking forward to kind of Steel Futures in a big way, and possibly as an individual who is having a knowledge, certain knowledge about the steel industry, will be able to do some kind of transactions there in the individual capacity. So, well, thank you very much, Mr. Pinaki, Mr. Nikunj, and Shreya, of course. Thank you very much.
Mr. Pinakin, would you like to add something?
Yeah, there has been a notion in the market that, it would be across many of the traders or the trading fraternity or the steel fraternity, that futures markets are meant for devastation, for huge losses. But all I want to say is these markets are not meant for devastation. It is like nuclear energy. We can produce missiles as well with nuclear energy, and we can produce power as well with nuclear energy. So it depends on us, the way we look at it. All I want to submit to you or urge all the trading fraternity or the traders or the stakeholders is that be here, ensure that you don't cross the thin line which is there between hedging and speculation. For speculation, you have the entire globe, and you have various other global markets, all the asset classes where you can speculate. But as far as your own business is concerned, use these markets only to hedge your or mitigate your risk, and be here to ensure that you discover the price, you reduce your working capital as far as your businesses are concerned, and use the markets in the best possible way.
Very well said, Mr. Pinakin. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Great.
I'll just add a few, one line. See, the success of this kind of contract is dependent on participation, and I would request and appeal to everyone in the steel fraternity to participate, so that we will also come to know, as we move forward, because there is no 100% formula. As we move forward, we will also come to know where there is something wrong, or we need to change, amend here and there. And we are ready to listen. We are ready to adapt and make it a huge success. And for that, the participation is very, very crucial. I would also appeal everyone to become a member of SUFI. Otherwise, so that it can be channelized through SUFI, whereby because we are going to now decide on the brokerage firms who will be doing this. So this is an appeal to everyone, all the steel fraternity. And thank you very much, Shreya. You are doing a wonderful work.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Great,
you,
thanks.
Shreya. Thank you, Nirmala.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bharti. Thank you, Pinakin, and thank you, Devji. Thank you.
Great, that's all for today.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much to our esteemed panelists for joining us today. Do stay tuned to Steelmint Events for the latest webinars, podcasts, and blogs, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.